understand what it really meant.
All right.
Stephen did inform me that he won't be able to be here.
Okay. So we're ready to start?
Just about.
All right. Good morning. We are here for the City of Green Bay Housing Authority meeting. It's Thursday, October 19th. We're left at 10:30. We have a roll call being taken. And item number 1 on our agenda is approval of the September 28th, 2017 minutes for the Green Bay Housing Authority meeting on that day. You all have a copy of that in your packet. Are there any additions, corrections, modifications? If not, is there a motion to approve?
I'll make that motion.
We have a motion.
I'll second.
We have a second. Any further questions, discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Any late communications?
No.
Nope. All right. No old business? No new business? Moving on to consideration, item number 2, consideration with possible action on acceptance of GBHA bills, and they are in your packet. Any questions? Anything?
Yeah, Stephanie, is there anything that we should, be questioning other than what we have questions about? Is there?
Everything on this one, is pretty standard. I did get the bill for, I go to training in December, so that's in this one, but you've already approved that through the budget is one of the things that I go to. Nothing, kind of quiet, which I like.
What is, may I ask, on the first page, moss build up, is that actual moss building up? Right on the first page, ABC Supply Company. On page 2.
The first, chemicals to treat the moss buildup on some of our roofs.
It is actual moss buildup, that's what I was wondering, okay.
What do you use for that?
Yeah.
I'm gonna guess some bath or something.
Read order something from First Supply. We did our inspections last month for our scattered sites, and we had a lot of trees that were touching the roofs.
Okay.
So with that, a lot of moss was starting to build up, and we're in the process of getting some trees cut off the roofs. And I know he did order some products like this.
Okay. All right, any questions regarding the bills? Otherwise, is there a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve.
And I will second. Again, any questions, further discussion? Otherwise, hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Very good, motion carries, thank you. Moving on to item number 3, consideration with possible action on acceptance of GBHA financial report.
Okay.
That is also in your packet. Stephanie, any updates?
Yes, per the discussion last month, you said you wanted me to change the parentheses. Well, I couldn't change the parentheses because it's an accounting thing within Excel. So if you notice below, it's no longer, but it's a smiley face, and if we're bad, it's a frowny face.
There we go.
I know how to put these statements in there, but I couldn't change the other things, so.
All right, well, we'll just have to get used to, are those emojis?
Smiles and frowns, yeah.
Smiles and frowns? Okay.
Oh, that's fantastic.
All right, so where do we sit?
Pretty good. We're moving on, like I said, we're just at the start of our, kind of the start of our year, about a quarter of the way in. Nothing too extraordinary going on right now. Trying to think, we have a few projects that we just put out for our, that we're gonna have going through, which are like our carpeting, because we do carpet every 2 years, so we know that's gonna be coming through. Trying to think of anything else that's.
Washers, dryers.
Washers and dryers, thank you. I couldn't, because I'm like, I know I have 2 or 3 things out there. That's just stuff that's coming down the pike.
This is all at Mason Manor?
Yep.
Carpeting throughout.
Just the hallways?
2 hallways.
Oh, two.
And we try to do
Budget
2
for
every year.
Got it.
So I think we're on 3rd and 4th. And then we'll keep moving on.
Okay. So this is me, and I'll probably be asking this every month because my mind doesn't retain like it used to. But when you look at the reserve spreadsheet and you see Mason Manor and scattered sites and you see the parentheses, that's a loss is in parentheses, correct?
Those are being taken out because those are committed to something else, so those are being set aside.
Okay, and the 150,000, is that elevator, correct?
Yes.
Okay, and then on scattered sites, the 69 remaining projects, those are just projects that we would approve.
That were set aside
Correct,
a
yep.
long time ago.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, good, wow, I retained that.
Good job, Sam.
Yeah.
Do we have a record as to what the estimated cost to replace those elevators would be? I mean, we've got 150 in the budget.
At one time, I think Robin got it was 250 a piece.
Okay, that's what I thought. I thought it was in the two.
And I talked to Gene, who is the maintenance guy here, because they're looking at doing the elevators here. I'm like, well, how much do you guys think? The ones here, they're looking at like 400,000 a piece.
Well,
So,
they go up, yeah, I shouldn't say they go
But
up
ours go
more,
up
but they're
higher.
a little bigger,
so, and that's it. So I'm like, oh, so our 250, he's like, that's a pretty good price.
yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Okay. So,
That elevator.
have we ever
What's
gotten a
your
report
original?
from the, I know we have a monthly maintenance. I mean, are they pointing us in any problem issues that we're getting close to, you know, we got 1 year left of life or 2 years or whatever?
I don't think that they're at that point, but I think that they've identified that.
They have had service calls. We did have an inspector, I believe it was like a year or two or less, that cleared our elevators, and now the new inspector that we had found a lot of things that the
Not always have.
original inspector didn't feel
Mhm.
was necessary, so there has been a few other charges, but they haven't said like 1 year, 2 year. There are just random things that we do have to update or, correct, but nothing we have 1 month left or 1 year left.
So my recollection is those are the original elevators
Correct.
that are in there.
Yeah, they are.
Well, the city hall, their original here. as
Yeah.
well, Which is probably.
So,
Yeah.
They're 60 years old.
I always
They're
say a little
actually
prayer
making
before I
their
get
own
on
parts
this
for
one.
it. They're fast
All right,
though.
well,
I was gonna say, they're very fast.
So we got a fund anyway that we can start to think about
Yeah.
at some point.
Do you have a capital long-range plan with regard to like carpeting and elevator and that kind
Yeah,
of thing?
we did a 20-year plan in 2015.
Awesome.
Okay. Any further questions on the financial report? Otherwise, is there a motion to approve?
I'll make that motion.
A motion, is there a second?
I'll second it.
All right, very good. We have a second. Again, any further questions, discussion? Otherwise, hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much. Moving on to item number 4 under the Administrator's Report and Informational Report on Brown County's Safe and Stable Housing Study.
Okay, so even though we didn't have many agenda items, this is the reason I wanted to still have the meeting today, to share this report with you. So I wanted to clarify, this was not the Brown County Housing Authority, but Municipal Brown County that commissioned this report. They put out an RFP quite a while back, and UWGB's Center for Public Affairs was awarded the contract to do the study. So they have recently completed that study. The executive summary is in your packet, but I also have a presentation that I will provide to you here. So the purpose of the study was to assess the needs of Brown County consumers with unsafe or unstable housing and provide recommendations on strategies that the county might take to improve housing for those individuals. So the goal would be to increase the likelihood of successful recovery of these individuals and reduce the risk that they return to homelessness or cycle back into intensive treatment, restrictive and costly services or jail, or just, overall returning back to a former lifestyle that was not appropriate for them nor for the community.
Robin, I have a question. I think I understand what unstable housing is, but what would they classify as unsafe housing?
I think in this situation, what they're really looking at are people with mental health issues as well as AEODA concerns. And so unsafe housing for them would be, it could be a wide variety, but especially in regards to people who maybe their housing situation is, there's bad influences there that might result in them returning back to
this
their former
is-
lifestyle.
Living outside, some living in.
Yeah, this So this wouldn't be,
Just bad landlords.
well, yeah, that or a dilapidated house. or
No.
something
Well, that's
like
what I
that.
meant, yeah.
Yeah, this doesn't really look
Okay.
at that specifically. Now, there is a specific population that this is looking for, or looking at. It's not looking at the overall Brown County individuals who are homeless, but again, specifically those who are in the Brown County system, specifically adults within the treatment courts for mental health and substance abuse issues, adults receiving outpatient care management services from the community treatment center, adults under supervision of probation and parole with mental health and substance abuse issues, and adults exiting the Brown County Jail with mental health and substance abuse issues. As far as the sources and methods that UWGB used in collecting this data, first of all, I want to clarify that this was not like a student class project. These were two professors from UWGB as well as a graduate level student who conducted this study. And they interviewed a variety of service providers in the area. They conducted surveys of service providers, judges, and others affiliated with this population. They also used secondary data and existing research and policy assessments. To provide some background and context, at a minimum, there are 1,512 individuals experiencing homelessness or who have experienced it at some point in 2016. Brown County is one of the highest rates, or has one of the highest rates of chronic homelessness in Wisconsin. The median length of time that an individual in Brown County remains homeless is a median of 52 days. For comparison, HUD's standard, they don't want to see that people are experiencing housing more than 30 days. That is their goal. So we're, as a median, well above that. And conservatively, this study found over 200 Brown County consumers, again, just those individuals referenced on the previous slide, that are currently experiencing unsafe or unstable housing. So this study looked at the needs of the consumers. Some of the common themes are that there's a general lack of affordable housing in our area. There are personal barriers that individuals have, such as health concerns and addictions. Lack of ability or availability of landlords who are willing to rent to those with high barriers to housing. And then there's also a concern of insufficient access to supportive services such as case management, job coaching, medication requirements, therapy. They further broke down these needs into different consumer categories. So this is specifically for consumers with mental health issues. The needs for them include medication supervision, ongoing treatment of some kind, assistance in applying for Social Security or supplemental security income if they're eligible. And it really emphasized that a one-size-fits-all approach does not work. There's a variety of housing options needed to accommodate the wide variety of diagnoses for people with mental health issues. Then they moved on to looking at the needs of consumers with substance abuse issues. And they really required a structured lifestyle that includes accountability in the form of supervision or occasional check-ins, and a clean and sober living environment that does not isolate this population. What some of the judges, or many of the judges in the treatment courts have been finding is that these individuals are often living with, family, friends, others in their circle that they knew before going to prison or starting on the road to recovery. And that's the only place where they can, have a safe, secure roof over their head, but it's not a clean and sober living environment for them, so they're often receding back into that formal way of life. As far as consumers with treatment who are from the treatment court or exiting jail, treatment court specifically, some sort of front-end safe and stable housing during and potentially after treatment, and housing located near employment opportunities, public transportation, and supportive services is really necessary for them. and those exiting the jail an immediate front-end housing with no barriers for at least 60 to 90 days. So again, those who are working with the ex-offenders being released have a very difficult time finding a place for them to be released to have a home to live in.
We see that a lot on the Brown County side with some of the Section 8 housing fraud prosecutions that we go after, that, unauthorized people living in the house. It's, the authorized household members are a mother and 2 or 3 kids. They get into trouble because father gets out of jail, boyfriend,
And they start
father,
living
and they
with
go
them
back
again.
and live with them because they've got no place else to go.
Right.
They're sleeping on a couch at somebody else's house, and then they show up to help with the kids, and they end up
Next thing you
staying
know,
there,
yeah.
and then they're in violation, and then all of them are out on the street.
Yep.
So I mean,
Yeah.
it's
Right.
it's an unfortunate situation, but that's the federal rules. But, so they're, again, that's that experience that that problem leads to a multitude of other problems for people who are otherwise,
Right.
sort of law-abiding citizens, and they just get caught in a bad situation, so.
Yeah. And those of us who are, maybe have studied poverty issues, that's kind of a cultural thing within the, the poverty culture is, you do this for me, I'll do that for you.
Yep.
You helped me, I'll help you by
Sure.
giving you a place to stay, and just kind of keep it on the down low for a few days, and it's only gonna be for a few days, right? And that few days goes on and on and on,
Right.
and that's when they run into problems.
And that, and that's a catch-22. I know we have laws there for a reason, and I understand that, but I too have experienced through consumers that I've worked with that situation. Someone's just helping out a friend, they end up staying there too long, it's not reported, knowing that, I should really tell them, but then I could get in trouble for the other time. So they're sitting there, what can I do to make this right? Because I know it's wrong, but I can't kick this person out. They've been good to me, they're my friend, how do I do that? So I just think we put people in, I understand the fraud part, but I think we put people in situations that, that make them make choices that go against the law. And it's not for any reason to hurt anybody, it's to help somebody, and then they're hurt as a result of their help. So I just, I understand housing fraud, and I get it, but I feel that there's so many people that end up in homeless shelters as a result of what you just said. And it's such a shame that we can't advocate or something for some type of change, and I don't even know what that would be, in the law to allow exceptions when it's a first-time offense, or whatever. I don't know what the answer is, but I know that that's exactly what happens, and it's too bad that our laws are such that it puts people in those types of lose-lose situations. The other thing that Rob and I wanted to ask was under the treatment courts, housing located near employment opportunities, public transportation, and supported services. Who are the supportive services? Because in the slide before, you were talking about individuals needing that supervision. Is that your supportive services, and are there not enough supportive services out there to maintain that population in a supervisory manner? Is that, so they're released, they get into a stable living situation, a safe and a lawful one, and is there not enough of the, I don't know if it's our mental health department that goes in and supervises, like comes in once, twice a week at first, or whatever? Is that just not available? Is that what this study saw, or?
Yeah, I guess the study didn't get into that
specific. Okay.
But it kind of indicates that, if there were more of those services available, then some of these individuals would be held more accountable.
And that's what I was wondering. Okay. So is it the CSP program? Is it the, yeah?
Yeah, I
Okay,
Can't give
so,
you
sorry, I
an
didn't wanna,
answer
I
for
just,
that,
it'd be interesting to find out that piece,
Yeah.
that component, so that
Yeah.
is there needing to be more advocacy on a legislative level to increase funding for that type, so,
Yeah.
of supportive services, because it's not anything that we have enough data with to be able to.
Right,
So,
and that might
okay.
be, something that the Director of Health and Human Services for Brown County area
Okay, would
council
know.
might be able
Okay.
to speak to a little bit more.
Sure.
Okay, moving on. This study also looked at policy alternatives and recommendations, and again, divided this into 3 categories of additional housing units, public and private funding strategies, as well as supplemental alternatives. So we'll dig into each of those. As far as additional housing units, it subdivided it into 2 categories. The first is permanent supportive housing. So this is especially needed for individuals with severe mental
Mhm.
illnesses.
And that's what I was saying.
It provides affordable housing with a significant level of treatment, including possible options, which could be contracted treatment or county-provided treatment. It's expected to be long-term, hence the word permanent. For many of these individuals, their mental health situation will likely not improve to the point that they would, be functioning independently without these services. So this is something long-term or permanent for many of them. And this could be in the form of scattered site or single site models. Some examples that the study pointed out are a single site model in Milwaukee called Thurgood Marshall facility, and that's a 24-unit apartment complex. In talking with Eric Britzel, again, the Director of Health and Human Services, he's of the, mindset that would be too large of a setting for our community, and it would be very difficult to find a neighborhood to place that
Sure.
kind of single site model in. Scattered site model would be, different homes scattered around the community, and the Fox Cities has a model that could be used to model ours after.
Could we designate any of our scattered sites? Like 2 units, 4 units, or whatever specifically to a program that would have supportive services? Or are those under like a separate contract and couldn't, you know what I'm saying?
We could modify our local policies in our admissions and continued occupancy plan to, provide for that. But there are still the HUD mandated policies that the recipients or the tenants would have to meet. So for example, HUD mandates that we cannot provide public housing assistance to anybody who is currently using drugs. I don't know the exact terminology, but I know it uses the word current, and then it's up to the local housing authority to describe what current means. Well, our local policy then has defined that to mean within the past 5 years. Now, we could change
Wow.
that local policy.
That's a long period of time, I
refine
think.
current.
That
Well,
is.
that's how we do our background checks.
Correct.
Oh, I
It's
suppose,
going-
yeah.
Looking at the past 5 years, if they have any drug or violent offenses in the past
Mhm.
5 years, then they would be not eligible. But yes, we could
I could see
consider
violence,
defining
but.
or refining
Yeah.
that.
And does that include if someone's having methadone treatments? Is that considered active?
I don't.
I mean, I
know
would
that
think
it
so, 'cause it's
describes
active, but
that.
yeah.
I think we would have, we could look at any HUD guidance that might be out there that addresses
Okay.
that, but that would probably be within our discretion to define that.
Okay. Yeah, that's.
Is it based on a conviction? The drug?
Yes.
It's
It must
okay.
be based on the
Yeah.
conviction, I would think.
Yeah.
Conviction in the last 5 years?
Yeah.
But even if you look at persons with needs for mental health services, that's a supportive service that is needed, that would not, maybe or maybe not, doesn't have a criminal background of any kind, right? But, I don't know, I'm just like trying to think of options
I
for
know.
housing opportunities for,
That
because it's
mental-
very hard, it is, let's be honest, it's very hard to place this type of housing in neighborhoods. People are NIMBY to this type of
Oh, yeah.
housing, but if we already own sites that,
Right.
You don't want to put up the
concern-
billboard.
Right.
that-
Right.
right?
You know, another concern as we're talking through this, all of our scattered sites are 2, 3, and 4 bedrooms.
That was one.
Most of these
question.
individuals are single individual
Right.
homes.
Right.
So it would not be really in the community's best interest to put a single person in a 2 or 3 bedroom when we have other families on the waiting list that need
Right.
that.
Well, but if we're gonna sell one of them, it's part of that expansion project on North Webster, maybe we pick up 1-bedrooms.
We would
Instead
have
of 2 or-
we would have to justify to HUD why, you know, the community needs that.
Mhm.
Because
Oh, I
HUD has
can-
already told us that generally you replace
You
them
gotta
with
the
the
same
same
for
number of
same.
bedroom unless you
Oh.
can show.
I mean, I'm just brainstorming things
Yeah.
of ways to maybe create at least a few units, but.
I can say there is a dire need for that supportive piece because, first of all, to get people medicated.
Right.
That's number one.
Right.
You know, we have people that come into the shelter that are not medicated, and that is a challenge. Then we go on to get to the county, get that person medicated, and then they're, you know, level.
Mhm.
As long as they stay on their medications, it's
Right.
fantastic, you know, everything moves forward. But there's those people that a homeless shelter is not a place for them, it's not an appropriate setting.
Right.
So we look at, sometimes we'll put fast-track individuals that have severe mental health issues into our transitional living program.
Mhm.
So they have their own studio apartment, you know, and have that privacy. What we as a community don't have is that next step. Where do they go next?
Mhm.
And that permanent supportive housing, there is, I mean, I can name 12 people that
Mhm.
could go in that tomorrow that would so benefit
Mhm.
from that. So, I mean, that's something we've been talking about for a long time. And I think, I keep saying, we get rid of the mental health challenge in our community, we're gonna see family violence go down, we're gonna see crime
Yeah.
go down, we're gonna see homelessness go down. If we could only tackle that, you know, what their study is showing, that there's gaps in the mental health services big time.
And you'll recall I brought to your attention several months ago that Eric from Brown County Health and Human Services and I have had continuing ongoing discussions. We're continuing to have these about how can we partner together with them providing, you know, the case management, the supportive services that they currently do, us providing the housing that we currently do, maybe in a little different form than what we're doing right now. But how could we partner together to do that? So that's still something that we're continuing to look at, and I hope that, you know, within the next year or so, maybe we'll bring some kind of proposal to you.
It'd be awesome.
Because we do have unrestricted funds that we could use if you guys deem it worthy to look at doing market rate. Because it can be considered an affordable market rate, and we could,
That's the thing, affordable. Yeah.
but we can, if they're market rate, we can set what that is with the
Actually-
unrestricted.
Actually, I did find something in state statutes that indicates that a housing authority, I don't remember the wording, but a housing authority basically cannot have market rate. It needs to be affordable units.
But if they fund a portion of another developer's unit, the portion that they're funding, if they're all affordable. Like, let's say you have a developer that's coming in that wants to do a mixed unit, you know, a dozen here, a dozen here. If, like, we were to fund 12 of those affordable, it's not our project.
Right,
We're
we're
funding
not
another
owning it.
project, and we're only funding the ones that are affordable, then I would think we could maybe do that. or-
Right, yeah.
I mean, I'm
It was-
thinking too of the project that they're looking at Larson Green. That's, you know, that's a lot of units there that I'm wondering if there's possible.
Are they still doing the Larson Green one?
He's
I
looking
hope
at, he's
so,
putting it together,
yeah.
so.
Last month, they came to the Brown County Housing Authority to
They
request
did.
project-based
Mhm.
vouchers in some of those units.
That's
Yeah.
wonderful.
Yeah.
I was doing cartwheels all the way out.
Yeah,
I
because they
think,
were also looking at us for accessibility,
too.
they were looking, yeah.
Okay.
So that is wonderful, because that's another, I mean, we have two populations here that are in desperate need of housing, and it's people with disabilities and our population of mental health, and sometimes those tie together.
Yep.
And so, any developer right now that is looking, I mean, having those accessible units available, we are so lacking in accessible, and it's primarily, not necessarily the entryway and getting
Mhm.
through the doorway,
Right.
it's the bathroom.
unit itself.
I cannot get into a bathroom, I can't get into, it's usually a barrier-free shower of some type. And I know when they initially came to the Green Bay Housing Authority for Larson and Green, that project, remember, that they were looking at putting in 2 or 3 units with barrier-free showers. And I was like, oh my God, those would be,
Well, that
and
ask-
people would never leave.
That
you know?
ask may come back to the Green Bay
Yeah.
Housing Authority because they've actually contacted the redevelopment authority. There's a gap in that project they're trying to fill. And
For
so
funds?
they're interested in home funds. We don't have enough home funds to fill that
Okay.
gap. So, I mean, that might be something that we need to consider maybe as the housing authority looking at that whole project and what role we could play.
Yeah. Oh, I think that would be
You know what I mean,
fabulous.
so-
And then, yeah, I mean, so.
You keep brainstorming.
Yeah, what of, and this may not even be applicable, so we worked with Neighbor Works for those housing units that are on Ashland?
Mhm.
Is that what, are they on Ashland or are they on?
Mather and Ashland?
Yeah, yeah. So anyway, to designate a couple of those units that don't need to be any type of barrier situation, just somebody that's ambulatory with a mental health that needs a stable, because those are all 1 bedroom, correct? Yeah, I thought that they were, because they were like, what, 12 units in one and 8 in another?
Oh, the
or
Westbridge.
something like that. Yes,
The
the
Westbridge
Westbridge, yeah.
project.
So is
That we
there any
swapped
way
out
of
the
going to
farmery
know
for
for that,
Yeah.
to say, can we throw you some funds that way, and you can designate 3 units in each, or 2 units in each? Those are existing, and they're
Yep.
there, and we helped.
And it's a reputable
And it's
landlord.
a
Mortgage on it.
reputable landlord, yes, and it would be not only reputable, but sensitive to the needs of our community, because they always have been. So that might be something, if we could get 1 or 2 units out of that, would be fabulous through our, I would think that would be a great use of our funds too. So, I did not know Larson Green was starting back up again. Oh,
Yeah,
that is
he's been
so,
working on it. I mean,
Good.
that is
He's
wonderful.
applying
Well,
for
again, if there's
tax
anything we can
credits
do on our end to
VDOT.
help,
Yep.
Yeah.
keep us posted.
And even as
Back.
individuals, so like Options for Independent Living, we would be happy to write a letter of support for funds for this if that was something that was needed. I'm sure you guys would do the same. I mean, anything that could assist with providing whatever is needed for those units, if possible, we'd be more than happy, so.
Sorry, disrailed you, Robin.
No, but I think that was well worth it.
Yeah, sorry.
Maybe Cheryl and I can, brainstorm how to, what we could do to help make sure ensure the success of this Larson Green project,
Yeah.
and possibly bring that topic back for further discussion. Okay, so we just talked about permanent supportive housing, and now it's moving on to the other category of transitional housing. So this would be temporary supportive housing for those who don't need it permanently, but need a no-barrier housing for short term, especially again for those who are exiting jail or in the treatment courts. Again, the options could include single site, a smaller group setting, or scattered sites. And again, a variety of options are needed for a variety of consumers. Some examples and models are the NeighborWorks and NewCap partnership, Ecumenical Partnership for Housing, and the Oxford House Sandy Fabry House.
Where are those last, where's the last? Are you familiar
I've
with them
heard
at all?
of them before, but I'm not, I know it's a national program that
Oh, it
has
is?
sites in different communities, and I heard that we have one in this community, but it's kept pretty quiet because I don't hear a lot about it.
And the ecumenical partnership, ecumenical from?
It's a partnership of, I don't know, maybe 21 churches or
Okay.
so
That sounds
that
good.
own
Okay.
some properties, and they partner with Salvation Army to do the supportive services.
Oh, sure.
And the Ecumenical Partnership as a organization owns the
Wonderful.
properties, and they are
Okay.
the landlord.
They're scattered.
They're
Yes,
scattered
they're
sites.
They
Okay.
currently have a campaign to purchase 10 more properties that they're trying to raise
So
money for.
can we look into see what they're doing? So are they doing single units? Are they doing single-family homes? Are they doing
They would be
apartments?
single-family homes and duplexes, that's what they're looking
Wow.
at. So again, most of those are probably gonna be 2, 3, or 4 bedrooms.
Oh, okay, all righty, but still,
Yeah, because
you know.
they're kind of aimed at helping families.
Families.
All right. As far as public and private funding strategies, there's a relatively new model out there called a pay-for-success model. And the way this works is that there would be a private funder who would front the money, and then there would be goals set up for the program's success. And if those goals are met, then the county would start budgeting money to reimburse the private funder as well as to continue the program forward. So there's an example of that in Santa Clara County in California. Also, there's the ability to leverage funding through other partnerships. Milwaukee County has done that before. And expand the use of WIDA programs, the low-income housing tax credits. And we have another slide to touch on that in a moment. And then looking at additional grants and other funding opportunities. So this chart demonstrates the number of tax credits available in Brown County compared to Outagamie and Winnebago. So you can see for our population size, we have quite a significant lower number of tax credits in our area.
Is that because developers aren't applying for them?
Or they're applying and not getting awarded.
Not getting awarded?
I know we had one to Brown County maybe 2 or 3 years ago that we agreed to do some project-based vouchers there, and then they didn't get
They just
awarded
didn't get
tax
awarded.
credits.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it is. As far as supplementary options, there's a model of government and community support through San Bernardino County. I don't know a lot of details regarding that one. Public information on website improvements, and both in Ohio and North Carolina, there's some examples. That option doesn't necessarily provide the housing units that are needed, but it helps to make the community more aware of the issue and to kind of rally some support around this population. Comprehensive homelessness plan, Arlington County, Virginia, has a good comprehensive plan that the whole community has been involved in putting together. And increasing coordination with community stakeholders. And Chippewa County has an example of that.
Oh, it was.
So there are opportunities for us here in Brown County. And although the root causes of homelessness and unstable, unsafe housing are complex, they are not insurmountable. There's a variety of potential solutions that are out there that we could model our own programs after. Brown County, as a municipal organization, is in a unique position to stimulate local action, and they also have the ability to leverage more dollars. So the county could raise its profile and collaborate with other public and private funders, partners, and advocates. So again, this study was done specifically for Brown County, but since it is tied so closely to our mission, that's why I wanted to share it with you, and I think it's started some really good conversation here.
So do you know what is happening as a result of this study? Is the county looking at getting some stakeholders together in a housing committee? And
Yeah, it's still in the preliminary stages, but as I said, I've been meeting with Eric Pritzel for quite some time. He's starting to kind of expand that committee that's involved in talking about this to pull other people in. I think he wants to take it slow to make sure he can garner the support of the community and, do it in a way that, we're not going to have a, big, rally against it. So, still preliminary.
is there, would he be talking to like the ecumenical partnership and things like that? I think those would be partners we want to bring to the table so they can see the needs, or even if it's just an initial meeting of housing stakeholders. So whether it's Brown County, Green Bay Housing Authority, the county itself, representative from the homeless shelters, the ecumenical partnership, NewCap, NeighborWorks, just a brainstorm to get make everybody aware of not just the barriers for this specific population in the study, which is amazing, but also for other needs in our community. So like
Well,
for
isn't
people
that-
with physical disabilities that need access.
What
So-
did the Homeless and Housing Coalition
Right.
really
yeah.
is that, isn't it that group that's
Right.
made up of the players?
Yeah.
Yeah,
in the
a lot of
community that-
those players that you just mentioned
I've not
are
heard of
part
them.
of the Brown County Homeless and
You
Housing.
have not heard of
Coalition.
them?
No, I've not heard of that.
I'm a very active member in that
Are you?
coalition.
You should
yeah.
probably join them.
Yeah, and we actually had a really good presentation regarding the statistics of homelessness, and it was empowering. I really hope that as a coalition, we can kind of.
That was the presentation you had sent out to us? I wasn't able to
No,
make that? No?
no, that was.
That's the next
a
step.
different one.
Is that the
Oh,
next
okay.
agenda? Is that the survey or?
No, no.
Oh, okay.
I mean, they're all kind of tied together, but it
Oh,
wasn't
okay.
specifically with that. But really what I walked away with from this other presentation that I went to was that Brown County is doing a great job with managing homelessness. We're making homeless people comfortable, getting them in temporary shelters so they have a roof over their head temporarily. We're providing them food and clothing and other supplemental things. But we're not taking enough action to really end homelessness.
Yeah.
And
Well,
that's where we
we
need
are.
to.
Because we want people to be self-sufficient when they move on, so, you know, we have a comprehensive program. So it's
Right.
not, you know, we don't look at it as temporary. For some people, the emergency need, but for the most part, we want people to stay a longer period of time than shorter, based on what's happened in their lives that brought them, you know, to the homeless shelter. But one thing I thought was interesting too, that the idea that Brown County has the most chronic homeless individuals, we also have the most people in our county, so it makes sense, you know.
Mhm.
So that's interesting that that's a highlight, because it's, well, yeah.
Mhm.
But certainly, I mean, I understand what you're saying, but I just want to say we're the exception to that rule,
Mhm.
so, for what it's worth.
I think, you know, as a county, as an overall collaborating together, you know, there's pockets like yours that are doing that well, but as an overall county, we
It's
could
not.
Yep,
improve.
yeah.
From a broader perspective of just us, is there somebody looking at what, I mean, from the county standpoint, they're looking at the county, but is there somebody looking at what's going on and what services and assistance are available in some of the other communities, Ashwaubenon, De Pere, you know, Pulaski, yeah, some of the outlying areas? I mean, I think that it's got to be sort of a county-wide thing, but the county, I think, has a limited ability to do things within the other municipalities. So what are those, you know, where are those other municipalities? You know, how are they dealing with it? And I'm
Sending them to us.
I was just
Well,
going to
that's-
say.
that's-
And that's not a bad, I mean, they don't
Yeah.
have the resources.
Correct.
So,
So whether it's Sabisky or whether it's, those, when we
Even
get
Manitowoc.
calls, yes, we get calls, especially a lot with people with mental health issues. You know, they are homeless, they are living on people's couches, and I need to find something. They don't have any convictions or anything like that, so they still have at least a 6-month wait list for our Section 8 in many cases, even though they're prioritized because of that. Sometimes it's quicker to get them, if there's room in the shelter, to go in, because you have like not an automatic door, but you have a little faster track in. But I mean, they're coming in to Green Bay for the services provided because they have the shelters and they have So unfortunately, you know, Sabisky doesn't, Denmark doesn't, New Franken doesn't.
Door County.
So a lot of people come into Green Bay for those services because a lot of the other even counties don't have those, like you said, don't have those homeless shelters, unfortunately. So we get a lot of people coming into Green Bay that aren't even residents of Brown County, so.
Oh, sure. And that's
Yeah.
why I asked.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
I mean,
You see the legal side of it, which is just heartbreaking to see all of a sudden a family on the street because of somebody that has stayed too long without being reported.
Sure.
And that's another total conflict on the other side of, you know, you try to help them and then you get called to task
And
force.
I know some of the other municipalities that I'm involved with in my private practice. I don't do anything.
I often wanted to,
Some of them
I've
have
had
the
this in the-
resources
Yeah.
to do it.
the back of my mind that I would like to have Tammy, our statistical guru, sit down and see how many people we serve from each county and let that county know, or that municipality know.
Yeah.
We served, you know, the
5
last year.
people from
Right.
your county.
I think that would be
or-
interesting
I-
data for
I
us even.
agree.
Yeah.
It'd be data, interesting data, I would hope for them too, that, oh, I
Right.
guess we do have a need in
Right.
here, you know, or,
Right, and again, those municipalities that I represent, nobody talks about it.
yeah.
They don't know, and maybe they would do something if they knew,
Especially if they had those statistics, yeah,
Yep.
that would be interesting.
or maybe they would partner with somebody else that could work.
Yeah.
You know, to get the
Yeah.
resources to deal with those in their communities. You know, and maybe it starts with, again, thinking of some of the municipalities that represent the staffing that they have. With their police department or the sheriff's department of who they're dealing with in those communities, so that information can get back to those boards and say, you know, we've got this problem that's happening in your town or your village or your city that needs to be addressed, and here's some options that you might have to address it, so that we can work together with them, not that we're trying to chase them away or
Right.
push those, keep those
Right.
people out of the services and the facilities that we have, but to partner with those people to help them and show them the way, or work with them.
With my involvement in the Brown County Homeless and Housing Coalition, I'm on a committee that is planning a housing summit. We were gonna have it in November, and now it looks like we're gonna push it back to January. But that's really what we wanna do, is to educate the community, and not just, you know, speaking to the choir.
Right.
We wanna reach out to the community leaders who don't realize how severe of a problem this really is. And I think that your point is well made, that we need to make sure it reaches to all of Brown County, to the leaders in other municipalities of Brown County.
And possibly other counties that we're serving.
Mhm.
You know, just to bring that awareness out that these are the needs and we are serving people from other counties, and bring about awareness. I mean, if you can get them there, you know, I think that would be great too. Yeah, now that you're talking about coalition, I'm thinking of the task force, the homelessness task force, that's what I'm familiar with. Is that the same as the coalition?
There was a task force years ago before I was in my
okay,
position here,
okay.
and I think it just,
Okay, that's what I heard of,
Probably
so I
morphed into that
thought,
coalition.
probably thinking
As
it's the
added
same,
people.
that's what I was, okay, so then I've heard of it, okay. Thank you, Robin, very interesting.
Can we get a copy of that? Can you email that?
I think so. I will ask Eric if we have
Okay.
permission to share that.
Okay.
It's all public record right now, so, it's
Yes.
part of this meeting, so.
Yeah, that's true.
So is that,
That
Yep, that's it for you,
includes
okay.
that.
All
The
right.
survey? Okay.
So,
That's number 4.
all right, so we're ready to move on to number 5?
Yes.
All right, now we have the report on the survey of housing needs in Brown County.
So this is a survey that I put out through SurveyMonkey. I was doing it specifically for the Brown County Housing Authority because the BCHA has some unrestricted funds that we would like to put to use in the community. But I thought it was really interesting information that this committee would be interested to know and know about as well. So basically, I just asked the one question of which housing-related programs would have the greatest impact and greatest achievability if funding were directed to them. And we got 106 responses, and I've ordered them according to the most, the highest response rate. The one that's indicated other on the back of this page, it indicates what those other responses were. And then I put, ×2 or ×5 to indicate how many times that same or similar comment was made by different individuals who completed the survey. So based on this information, we're taking that back to the Brown County Housing Authority and putting together a proposal that they put money in their budget to what I'm envisioning is that we would make an RFP available, that different service providers in the community could put in proposals to use some of the money towards some of these top services, or top needs, I should say. So emergency shelters and transitional housing with supportive services came out on top. Again, when I think back to the presentation that I went to talking about homelessness statistics in Brown County, I don't want to just see more beds being made available, but I would like to see, if anyone wants to use money towards this, that it be leading towards ending homelessness, towards getting those individuals into permanent housing. Then there's also 2 different positions or similar type things, housing navigator position, and then landlord campaign and incentives. And one of the comments that was made, which I really agree with, was that those 2 could be combined into one. There's not really a need for more case management per se, which would be what a housing navigator would do, but really somebody who would connect the consumers with the landlords, with their case managers, and be a liaison to work with all of them.
I agree with that. Yeah, that's really.
Yeah, and then again, with the landlord campaign and incentives, that same position would really, try to rally landlords in the community to understand why renting to this high barrier population is going to be beneficial, for the entire community as a whole, for those specific individuals, but even possibly for them as a landlord. And then preventing homelessness in the first place for some of these individuals would be a top need. Permanent supportive housing project. So what I meant by project here is a brick and mortar type project supporting, for example, what's happening in the Larson Green area, something like that. And then supportive services for mental health and special populations. So those were the 6 that came out on top.
And they were high compared to the rest.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
You'll notice one of the comments that were made, there were 5 individuals who indicated a need for youth housing, transitional housing for youth, those aging out of foster care and other homeless youth. So that was one that I did not anticipate when I put the answer choices available together. But that's one that I would lump in with the other top scoring
because of that,
categories.
yep.
Yep.
I'm shocked that there wasn't more people that added families. I mean, because right now there is nowhere, to me, that's number 1 in our community. And they go out and do the point in time count, and you find the families living in a car, and at Walmart, there's nothing you can do.
Yeah.
And you
That's why we're
probably
thinking about
see
that.
this at the shelter, that what I've heard at least is that the parents will find somewhere for the kids, staying with a friend or a relative who can't take the whole family in, but at least they'll take the child or 2 children.
We find that all the
And
time.
then the parents will come to your shelter.
Yeah, because Freedom House has a wait list
Yeah.
that's
Yeah,
incredible.
Freedom House doesn't even call themselves
Yeah.
an emergency shelter
No.
anymore. Because
Because they're just,
not
they're full all the
emergency,
time.
they're so
Yep.
long waiting list.
So this survey went out to, who did it go out to?
I posted it just on 2 different sources because it was kind of a short turnaround. I posted it on the Brown County Homeless and Housing Coalition email list, and then also on the Community Connections email list. So if I had more time, I would have posted it
Yeah.
elsewhere, but.
It's a good starting point, though.
Thank
you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything else on this, Rob?
No, that's all.
Moving on to item number 6, Langen Report for the month of September. That is in your packet. Any questions? All right, is there a motion to accept and place on file?
I'll make that motion.
And I'll second it. We have a motion and a second to accept and place on file. Any further questions or any questions? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Occupancy report for the month of October.
Okay, the occupancy report for October is in your packet. We've actually had quite a quiet month. At the end of September, we only had 3 move-outs, where all of our summer months were at least 5 move-outs per month. So that's slowing down. A lot of our scattered sites vacancies right now are 3-bedroom applicants, or 3-bedroom units. And we only have 30 people on our 3-bedroom waiting list. So every applicant that is on our 3-bedroom waiting list, their application has been touched. So they're either at Langen for having their background checks, or they are at in the process of getting landlord reference checks right now. So I am working with a lot of like the House of Hope, Golden Houses, to get 3-bedroom applications, because we feel that we're going to be out of 3-bedroom applications sooner than later.
Can you do Freedom House too?
Freedom House, Golden House, House of Hope, yeah.
I just know because they just said that Freedom House
Yep.
is full, so.
Yep.
And when it says unit turnover, that's what's happening with them right now? They're being turned over? As
Yes.
far as cleaning, updating, that type of thing?
Correct.
Okay.
Looks like 1/3 of the people moved into a nursing home.
With our aging population, we do have a lot of
Yeah.
people that are moving on that need more supportive services around the clock care,
And
which is
that's
normal.
goes back to our service coordinator that we talked about last month that we're applying for. Hopefully that
Gotta be
position
great.
can help people
Awesome.
get the
Yeah.
services they need to age in place.
Okay. Any further questions? Thank you. Is there a motion to accept and place on file?
I'll make the motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further questions? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Good job, you guys.
Yes, thank you. Item number 8, housing update report.
Oh, that might, I don't know what's next. So some of the housing updates. Karen, our administrative assistant, is in the process of working with all of our floor leaders and floors. She's meeting with them all individually to see how we can enhance some of our activities at Mason Manor, or maybe revamp them or take some away to get some more resident involvement within the building.
Great idea.
Yeah, so that's out dedicating, and just kind of, let me see, last week we were kind of behind, so we started pulling out all of our fall decorations, and we're like, we need to decorate, you know, we're almost halfway through fall, and then we had 3 tenants that just took the initiative and made Mason Manor, I don't know if you want to agree or disagree now, but really made Mason Manor look fantastic. Like, they did a better job than I could have ever done with the fall decorations and just taking the initiative. So we've kind of appointed them to like the decorating committee.
Can we move them over to the shelter? when we're done there?
Yeah, so we've had a lot of tenant involvement. So that's really great. We do have the Salvation Army's Christmas basket sign up today at Mason Manor. And then we also had Thornberry request some family names that they have done in the past for Christmas baskets. So that's really good that we continue that involvement. I haven't created it quite yet, but mark your calendars. December 14th will be the Christmas party at Mason Manor.
Okay.
And one other big news is Reed Lewis, our service buildings maintenance coordinator. After 36 years, he will be retiring. No. December 27th.
No.
So,
Can't let them go, right?
What are you gonna do?
We're gonna try to overhire.
As soon as we can.
Jeff, but
Get
we
someone
need
trained
somebody
in
to
and-
help Jeff.
Get all that institutional knowledge out of
Right.
his head and.
and Jeff will be gone for
I was gonna
12
say.
weeks-ish, starting next Friday, so.
Aw.
Again, because of his institutional knowledge, is the plan, I hope, to get somebody in that can partner with him and.
At
for a
least 1 or
couple
2 weeks.
months.
That's our goal, is gonna try to
Or
overhire
hire.
that position.
Yeah, good.
We're working on it with HR.
Great.
Wait,
Okay.
Remember to breathe.
Yep.
Yep.
Great. We're gonna continue going.
All right,
But
any
those
other-
are-
Bed bugs, right?
Yeah, we're,
Yeah, so let's just jump right into bed bugs.
Yeah, right.
that's right.
Good.
All right, so the last full week of September, we did have our full building K-9 inspection. We did have 9 units, so one more than the last full building. So we have 9 total units right now that are infested. At our last quarterly inspection, we had 8, and of those 8, 5 have been cleared. So that's positive, seeing that the treatment is working. So right now, we do have 9 units that are currently being treated. 3 of those are repeats and 6 are new infestations. The following week, we've had our first spray of the chemical treatment, and I believe next week is our second one, and we're just gonna continue, go from there. The dog inspection's 30 days out after that. So just being as proactive as possible and just really working with our tenants.
The repeats, is that people not being compliant to what they should be doing, or?
No. So I did meet with one of our residents, workers between independent living, Lakeland Care, and this tenant has done absolutely every single thing that we've possibly asked him to. We feel it's a unit issue, not a tenant issue. So at the end of this month, he will be transferring to a different unit. And like I said, I met with all of his caseworkers this week, and they completely understood and recognized that nothing in his current unit will be moving to the new unit.
Oh, God, I was just gonna
Yep.
say.
Yes,
Oh,
so-
my gosh.
Yep, we have WG&R donating a bed for this individual, and we are getting furniture and all that stuff for this gentleman. So we feel that there's 2 of them that are unit issues and not tenant issues, because they have done absolutely everything that we have asked them to do.
And then we go in there and take out the
Everything.
baseboard, the
Everything.
carpet, and.
Down to the nitty gritty, we'll
Okay.
Good.
do that unit, so 2 units.
And then, what is it, where it says tenants that have received final warning?
So those are the tenants that do not comply with our recommendations
Okay,
or
that's what I was
the
wondering.
exterminator's recommendations, where we have given multiple chances, let's bring in caseworkers, let's bring in family, what can we do? And we knock on their door on treatment day, and they're like, we haven't assisted or helped us, met us halfway, so 5 days and 14 days, and eviction notices have occurred.
Okay. Wow.
That's great that WGNR is still continuing to
Yeah.
help out.
And how are you doing the furniture?
Good, we've distributed at least 5 of our sleeper sofa couches. What else have we've gotten out a few end tables, but we really had to wait for the K-9 to clear the unit before we gave them new furniture, and I know maintenance has been working with them getting the furniture from Landmark into those units.
Okay, that's what I was wondering.
Yep.
Okay, great.
Can we, and I'd be happy to sign, could you put together a letter just to WGNR and to Landmark, and just kind of give them, sort of a thank you letter, but give them an update, to let them know how many people they've helped and
Very
what
good
they've
idea.
done,
Yeah.
and how this is really a big help to those
Yeah.
folks. And I'd be happy to sign it.
Sure.
Just so, I mean, I know they know they gave this,
Right.
the furniture and
It's
so
nice to get a
forth,
thank you
but
from-
just to
Mhm.
give them an update as to people that they've helped and that they're continuing to help, and to thank them.
Yeah, and we did, when we got the furniture from Landmark, we sent them a handwritten
yes.
letter that was signed by all the staff thanking them, but I like that idea of
Yeah,
giving
but
them an update.
and I stopped in, among other things, I represent Egg Harbor, and that's where the Landmark is.
Oh, right.
I was up there, and I stopped in, and first time I stopped in, I missed them, but I stopped in and met their manager up there and thanked him, so.
Oh, that's
But,
awesome.
That's nice.
That goes a
A
long way.
follow-up letter wouldn't be a bad idea, just to let them know.
That way the next time they do something, they think of us.
Right.
Right.
We're in the back of their.
Yep, don't want it in the back of their heads, you want it in the forefront.
That's right.
Oh, it still reminds me of the circus of when our guys had to pick up the furniture. It was still in each individual unit. They
Oh.
were, we thought it would be in like a warehouse, and no, they had to take it out of the units. The elevator wasn't working, and
Oh,
down the stairs
no.
that turned and
All this,
turned.
yeah, if you've ever been there, I mean, it is
Yeah.
tight corners
Yep.
up there. All right, yeah, but I.
And thank our people that moved.
Right.
Wow. And where do we have it stored?
It is that new Howard rental, it's 2 storage
Oh, okay,
units.
it is, okay.
Okay. Anything further? Otherwise, we're up for a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
All right.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned. Thank you all very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Evan, for good meeting. A lot to think about. And if they need new people, or if they can take new people, I'd like to get on that coalition.
Yes,
that
I'm
would be
going
a
to
question.
get you the
You
information.
got
Amy
coffee
give you
drinkers?
the information.
We'll make coffee for you, but if people aren't
If you're not gonna
coffee